listening to the Hazard Ground Podcast, with service members from across the military sharing their stories of combat and survival. And now, here's your host, Mark Zeno.
Welcome into the Hazard Ground Podcast. As always, we appreciate you joining us each and every week. Hope you guys have checked out the new website. Hope you guys really like it. And the new logo, man. We've been getting a lot of good comments and positive feedback on it. So we hope you guys are really enjoying the new look of the Hazard Ground Podcast. Same great sound, same great stories, just a little bit of a facelift for us. Trying to modernize things a little bit and keep up with the Joneses, as they say. Speaking of that website, make sure you go to it and click on the Amazon button at the bottom of the page. Our partnership with Amazon still rocking and rolling, so you click on the button on the Hazard Ground website, and it'll take you right to Amazon. Do your normal shopping. We'll get a percentage of whatever you spend. We'll donate it right back to the charities that you've heard right here on the Hazard Ground Podcast. The usual. Follow us on all the social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Tell people about the podcast, guys. The audience is continuing to grow, and we can't do it without your help. So share a podcast with a friend. Also, don't forget to share with us some future stories you'd like to see. If you know somebody who's got a great story, go to our website, click on the Contact Us tab, fill out all the information. We'll get right back to you, and we'll start researching it and get the people you want to hear on the Hazard Ground Podcast. Finally, leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We love hearing those so much, and plus they help grow the podcast, as I mentioned before. So lots for you guys to do, but right now get to sit back and take a listen to this week's episode. Joining us this week is someone I'm fortunate enough to consider a friend and a very prominent name in the veterans community. He is a retired Army captain with 3 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, and if you're plugged into the veteran community, you may have heard his name before. He is Garrett Cathcart, joining us on the Hazard Ground Podcast. Garrett, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, so we were actually recording this live here in the home studio, and we're going to give this the best shot we can, technology aside, but it's great to have you on because I've gotten a chance to know you over the last couple of years in reference to the veteran community, and that's how we linked up. You were working for RWB at the time, Red, White, and Blue. Mike Irwin, former Hazard Ground guest, the founder of that wonderful program, and he's been on the podcast before, but you've bounced around from different veteran organizations, and now you're with a company called Mission Roll Call, an organization, Mission Roll Call, that works at the highest levels of helping veterans. We're going to get to that, but kind of let's go back to the beginning and give me your story about how you got in the military.
Sure. When I was a little kid, I was a nerd and read nonstop, and I always kind of was drawn towards history, specifically military history, and all these famous journals went to some school called West Point. And so in the 4th grade, I decided I would go to some place called West Point too. I had no idea what it was, or that in fact it took a little work to get into. So I decided then, and also at the time, my stepdad, who was a high school track coach, had an athlete who was interested in West Point. And so he went to this candidates luncheon, and I asked my 4th grade teacher to tag along, and she said yes. And I went as a 4th grader, and they patted me on the head, told me I was cute. And then when I went back as a junior in high school, they remembered me, which I think got me some points for the admissions process. All
right, so you make the decision to go to West Point early on. When you told your parents about it, what did they say?
They said, good supportive Midwestern parents. I grew up in Indiana. We support you. Frankly, no military history or connections in my family, so I was kind of one of the first. And so like, hey, if you want to do this, we'll help you. And they said, what's your backup plan? Where do you want to go to school if you don't get in? And I guess kind of the way I think is failure's not an option. I'm not going to apply anywhere else. I'm going to go to West Point or I'm going to enlist in the Army. Which I don't think they appreciated that answer too much.
Well, this is during a peacetime environment, right?
Right. I graduated high school in 2000, right? So this is peacetime Army.
Okay. So the concerns about going into the military were muted at that point in time, I guess, right?
And I think it's foreign. People will understand, right? I mean, that speaks frankly, years later, I'm still working on is this kind of civilian military divide. It's a culture that most folks don't understand, right? Unless you've had someone serve in it, someone in your family, immediate family, or even extended, you don't really know a lot about it. And besides what you see on popular culture, movies, and TV shows, and frankly, that's less than 1% of the American population. So I get it, right?
All right. So when that all happens, you end up getting into West Point. Do you know what you're getting into at that point in time?
Not really. And frankly, during that beast barracks first initial kind of summer when you go to R Day and you get yelled at for the first time by someone in a uniform, and you have to stand in formation and learn knowledge, and it's probably a watered down version of the actual Army basic training we enlist, but you think to yourself, oh, this isn't for me. This is actually kind of hard. That's not what I thought it was. But it's almost that fear of public humiliation. Like, I can't quit. I want to do this my whole life, right? And people are going to know if I come home. And we had people quitting, someone quit my squad. But no idea, right? I mean, you kind of jump over the ledge and see what happens. But it stuck it out. Plebe year was not easy. And obviously, my sophomore year was when 9/11 happened, which kind of changed the whole dynamic.
Do you remember where you were?
First day ever of any sort of military guard duty was 9/11, 2001. I was guarding a desk. It's called a cadet in charge of quarters, and you sign people in and out of the barracks, missed classes. But my TAC officer was an actual Army captain who's in charge of the company and mentors cadets. Came running in the hallway, said, "Hey, bring out the TV." Almost big things on a cart. And back
when the AV nerds were around.
Exactly.
When we had AV nerds.
So we roll it out on the thing and turn it on. And so we watched together live as the second plane hit. And we knew something was wrong. Then West Point gets locked down. All of a sudden there's NPs everywhere. Units are activated from somewhere. No one's allowed on or off post, to include, chow hall workers reading MREs. And frankly, my roommate and I were like, dude, we're going to miss these wars. We need to quit and go enlist. So we went and saw a TAC officer and said, "Hey, we're quitting West Point to go to the war. We're gonna miss it." This is like a first real piece of mentorship. He's like, "You're an idiot, Cathcart." I'm like, "What's right?"
I knew that going in.
Yeah. I still am. But he said, these wars are gonna last for a while. This war, because that was when we thought about talking about Afghanistan. And so he said, "Go back and finish school, and then and go lead at a higher level." And so I did. So luckily he talked us out of that, but. Early that day, everyone's kind of in shock and numb, and a lot of my friends in Indiana went to IU, and they released all classes in Indiana. One of the planes had flown over us at West Point. They thought we might be a target, right? Because the future military officers are all going to school there. But I'll never forget, I did an American politics test, and the West Point did not cancel classes. Like, you all were going to have to lead in stressful times and think, this is one of those times, go to class. And so I took an exam on 9/11 a couple hours after a plane flew over us and into the Twin Towers.
Wow. That's funny. And the only reason I choose the word funny is just because, little did we know that leading in stressful times would be something dynamically different than just taking a test. So I don't know how much it actually prepared you for that moment. But so you're going through the next couple of years at West Point watching war unfold. Mm. Are you ever starting to get nervous? Are you ever starting to think like, dude, they're sending bodies home already and this is what my future is? Yeah,
it's weird. I mean, when you're in the analogy I tell folks, hey, if you're like a pediatric brain surgeon, you don't want like some kid to get hurt and be dying to work, but you want to go and do it. You've been training for years for it, right? And so I was clamoring to go, right? I mean, and 9/11 is still fresh, and your friends who just graduated are going to Ranger School and graduating and going overseas. And so, yeah, I mean, nervous, but more like I gotta go there. Like, staying here is almost pointless. These classes are dumb. How is this going to help me downrange? And so, I didn't want to be a Ranger. It's a whole set of stories. So I spent 6 months in Ranger School. Ended up breaking my legs in Dahlonega, Georgia. So no tab. But I ended up switching units with a guy who had just had a kid. He's like, has had a kid. I'm like, oh, sweet. You're supposed to deploy next week. Give me your slot, bud. I'm going now. And so, 4th Infantry Division, I was in the Cavalry. And so deployed, showed up to my unit with a big walking cast on for my Ranger escapades. And my squadron commander, or battalion commander, shook my hand and it's like, "Weapon to you, Lieutenant." And he gave me a disgusted look. I'm like, "Sir, I went to Ranger School." And he's like, his whole demeanor changed. Like, "Oh, all right, okay." But then he
everything's fine.
And then he leans over, looks at my left shoulder, and sees no tab. He's like, "Oh,
you again,
Assistant S4, get back." I'm like, "What the heck, sir?" That's a whole other conversation. But I did actually get a pin a tab on my twin brother. I was at day 0 recycle, and he went straight through. So it's the same moment of.
No, he went to West Point too.
No, we had wildly different childhoods growing up. We were twins. I was the nerd class president. Want to go to West Point? He's like, I don't give a shit. I'll get C's, whatever. Shocked the world. Shocked the family. He applied and got a school called Norwich.
Norwich Military Academy. Yeah.
Right. So everyone's like, dude, your brother's going to Norwich? I'm like, I don't know, man. And so we were close growing up. We got a lot closer actually when we left. And it was one of the coolest moments when I visited him at Norwich, like one of my 1 weekends off the semester. It's like, this is my brother. He goes to West Point. Like the first time he was like almost proud of me. It was kind of cool. So he goes to infantry officer basic course. I go to the armor officer basic course at Knox, and I get a ranger slide. We're at school at the same time, and I never forget. I got to pin a tab on my twin brother as a Day Zero recycle, and so at the same time, one of my proudest moments of my life because he went straight through. Also, one of the most humiliating, right? Because I'm a Day Zero recycle. All my West Point classmates are graduating. I'm wearing a road guard vest and a camelback and parking cars. All my West Point friends are like, "Oh, congratulations!" Their parents are like, "You made it, congrats!" I'm like, I actually started over from the beginning, big failure. And then you as a recycler, you work at the concession stand. So I'm selling hot dogs and sodas and chips to my friends' parents. My own father comes up and is like, can I get a soda? I'm like, sure, Dad. He comes up with My Son's a Ranger coffee mug. I'm like, Jiminy Christmas, man. Like, they don't know. But like, and then I'm going back to Day Zero because I feel push-ups, right? And I got a pin a tab on my brother. And I mean, there's a whole thing about Ranger. I recycled during Best Ranger, so I had 2 months in the gulag. And that's a whole nother set of stories. But a buddy of mine recycled. I convinced him to stay with me. And we actually lived together in Texas before we deployed. But 2 months in the gulag was a special time. See, that good buddy of mine ended up being killed in action in Iraq. So like that was our time to kind of hang out. And we ended up actually building the deck behind 4th RTB together as like our recycle project. And I'm sure 2 staff sergeants got archons for, and we got like to go outside and see sunlight and do meaningful work was our reward. But yeah, got to my unit and then immediately kind of deployed to Baghdad, Iraq during the surge in 06 as a cavalry, initially as an assistant S4 to Kuwait to do connexes.
Wow. Okay. So it takes you to 2006 to get to Iraq for your first deployment. Where'd you go?
And so my cavalry squadron, their squadron headquarters was in Camp Taji, Iraq.
Okay. Familiar.
And so when I was in Kuwait, my squadron commander said, if you get all the connexes to Iraq, we'll get you to actually said you're going to be an XO first, which is weird. Usually you're a platoon leader. So I was an XO knowing nothing, like running around with my hair on fire for a long time, learning what a maintenance report was and all this stuff. And then after about 3 months of that, I finally got to be a reconnaissance scout platoon leader in Baghdad in 2006. And we lived in a burned out paper factory at the intersection of Route Pluto and Tampa.
Familiar again.
Right next to the North Baghdad gates.
Okay, so when did you get there? Because I'm just curious. I was there in 06. I was in Baghdad in 06.
Let's see.
Do you remember? I'm just wondering if we probably ever crossed paths.
I'm sure we did.
I mean, I drove to Taji 2 or 3 times a week from Bayat.
All right, so I was there once a week for my day and for showers and hot chow. But I think we spent a year there. Was like August to August of 06 to 07. Maybe.
Okay, so I was already gone by then. I left in April of 06. So
no, you know what? I was there because God bless him, my company commander, or troop commander, was killed in action in April of 06. So I got there way before that. I'm sorry. August was Afghanistan. So we definitely overlapped.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Taji had a good chow hall. That's what I remember. And the tank graveyard.
That's true too.
That's all it was. So for those, I mean, everybody in the military listening who's been at Taji knows, but for the civilians, Taji, from all the tanks that the Iraqi army had during the Gulf War, all the ones that we destroyed, they basically lined up.
The Russian T-74.
Yep, they lined them all, and you could literally drive down a row for 500 yards, 5 football lengths of all these blown out tanks. And of course, what did we do when we got there? We graffitied the hell out of them, wrote everything on them. You know, you suck.
Those are days for Instagram. Otherwise, that would have been
otherwise that would have been all over the place. But that was that's what we did at the tank graveyard. But it was notable because you kind of just remember how much we kicked ass during the Gulf War. But all right, so that first deployment, you get your first taste of combat. Go back to thinking what you were thinking as a sophomore after 9/11 and the war was going to pass us by and everything that you had trained to do. Did combat sort of live up to your expectations?
Yeah, you don't really, you think you know about it because you read about it, you study it, but until you get there, you don't. And I mean, really, 06, think about it. I did almost 9 years active and 3 years downrange. That was my crucible was 06, right? it's the height of the insurgency. IEDs are now a big deal. They're hurting, killing folks every day. And you know, you're being you've got guys who've been on a couple deployments, and you show up as a first lieutenant in charge. And so, one from a leadership standpoint, right? Like, you get tested. You know, we have that Crow machine gun system, the crew remote operated. It's a 50 cal on joysticks. The guys inside protecting from small arms and IED. But, you know, hey, sir, we see a guy with an AK. Let's engage him and line him up. I'm like, it's reverse slung. He's on his front porch. Like, I mean, like, we're not going to engage him. So, but that was the first. I remember, you know, guys wondering both, LT scared. Like, the first time you got to bow up to some of your folks and say, we're not going to operate. Later, obviously, they were like, yo, it's ALT, good call. Like, you know, so you're kind of finding your feet underneath you as a platoon leader. But, you know, as soon as I found my feet, my mentor, my company commander of the cavalry, we call him troops, the troop commander, was pretty well known. A year earlier, he had been involved as an operation with Delta, and they caught Saddam Hussein, right? And so it's a big army guy. It's kind of a big deal. He was a part of a brigade reconnaissance troop at that point, a commander of that. A guy named Ian Weichel. And this guy, you know, I mean, he's mentoring. We're in combat. He takes me under his wing and teaches me about leadership and combat and all this kind of stuff. And it's a special relationship, like, you know, between brother and father, right? Like, he's just my guy. And he ends up coming back from a key leader engagement with a sheikh. He's killed by an EFP in April of 2006. Died instantly. And that just destroyed the morale of the whole unit, right? He's the guy who was almost this mythological level leader that kind of the whole unit orbited around, and he was gone. It's like, well, shit, now what, right? And so get a new commander, and he's in a tough spot. Got to fill some big shoes, but he's great, frankly, and he's leading from the front. But you know, you salute the dog tags and the helmet on the rifle. You get the night off, and the next day you're back out patrolling, right? No real time to think about stuff.
Let me ask you: was that as much about if it could happen to him, it could happen to any of us, or was it more of a leadership void at that point in time, or maybe a combination of both?
Both, probably. You know, why him? He's our leader. You know, worship's a strong word, but there are some leaders that you admire, respect so much, you break your back because you don't want to let them down. Right. Versus, I outrank you, do this or else. Like, and he's one of those rare leaders, and we loved him because he knew he cared about us, right? And that's, I mean, frankly, one of the greatest leadership lessons I ever learned was from him. That, you know, it's about his soldiers and about our growth and our safety, about accomplishing the mission, right? And so, and that's a hard balance to strike, right? And so, and you can tell when someone cares about you, right? You can't fake that. And so it was why him, and it was, you know, that was right outside our front gate, man. They were targeting him, right? And so, because he was doing a good job, frankly. So, you know, but we're back out patrolling again, right? Every night, cordon and searches, kill capture missions. You know, I mean, it's high adrenaline, high adventure times.
Go back to the saluting the dog tags and that whole ceremony. What stands out to you about that ceremony in particular?
You come in, you go to the clearing barrels, you park the trucks, you maybe grab some chow, you go to the big room, and it's like they've done it so many times. It's a science now, right? Like, dog tags there, pictures there, the bios there, the chaplain. I mean, it's like this system.
The guy's crying?
Oh yeah. I mean, he was beloved, right?
Was it odd to see or no?
No, frankly, if you're like, I'm glad you're expressing human emotion, right? I mean, but the next day it's like, yo, dude, we got this patrol, we got to roll, get your shit on. So, like, I even back then I knew, like, this is gonna build with some shit later, right? Like, we don't have time to think about it now. I know this is not, you know, folks have been dealing with this shit for a long time after we get back. I don't have time to think about it. We got to go. And so we're still patrolling. We're doing crazy operations like combined arms. We got fast movers dropping a loom. We got, you know, cell phone hits. We're kicking. I mean, it's amazing, right? With a couple 101 soldiers get abducted, and it's like all hands on deck. It's in my AO. We're looking for some of them. So I've got like Delta attached to like, ALT, we're with you. Let's go. I'm like, what? I mean, it's insane.
Right.
And so we're operating at that tempo nonstop. It's exhausting, but it's also, you make the best friends, and like, I'm smoking cigars to relax and listen to Nora Jones. The guys are listening to, you know, whatever, and drinking Rippets. I mean, it's the great stuff. You know, and then we get a call. This is the other kind of one of the seminal moments of 2006, that 1 year deployment. We get a call to go find an IED maker. It's broad daylight. Usually we do our stuff at night, but in the middle of the day, and it's along Satataji. It's just Sunni Beach, this opulent homes where all Saddam's ministers live. Kick open the door, grab the guy. It's him, no question. We got this Russian-trained IED maker. Throw him in the the Humvees, roll him back to the detaining operations center. And I never forget this. This is Sergeant James Ellis. We rolled up Cobras, we rolled up Fordyce. So we go down Cobras, and he's like, "Sir, Cobras is like, it's a black route. We were just on it like 5 minutes ago. It's super fast. Let's go back down Fordyce." Like, "All right, sir, let's roll." And we start going back down Fordyce towards the operations center, and huge explosion. Truck in front of me that was 10 yards in front of me, blown off the road. I mean, this is an 1151 up armored Humvee. It is not light. Blown off the road, small arms contact 3 directions, complex ambush. I mean, it's intense. We get it suppressed. God bless my guys up on the guns, returning fire. But the truck is gone, right? The one right in front of me, right? And so, and my guys pulling security to secure the scene, but
gone as in not, you don't know where it is, or is it just in such condition that it's
all over the place? I mean, some of it's in the road. We find out later, it was a 500-pound IED buried underneath the road, like tunneled underneath the road, like, so you can't see it. So they dug in the dirt in the field next to it, tunneled underneath the road, and put a 500-pound bomb.
Command detonated, do you know?
Command detonated. Okay. And so, what sticks with me, I'm like, it's secure, like, this is my patrol. These are fucking my guys, man. And so, we got the bags, and I found all the pieces of them, man. Like, body parts of my bros, of my Joes. And Justin Jarrett from Georgia, hilarious kid. The kid that when we told him we needed a tire, he got one. And the next morning, the brigade sergeant major was pissed that someone stole a tire off his truck, right? Like, the kid that got it done, right? The Joe that got it done no matter what you ask. You didn't want to know what happened. But I found his leg from his hip down to his boot. His boot was still tied with the duct tape on it, the 100-mile tape on it. And, like, I just put it in the bag. I just remember it's fucking heavy. This is heavier than I think it should be for a leg, right? I mean, that's the stuff that you remember later. The birds come. There's 2 more guys that are intact. One's got an arm off, but it's clean. Think he can make it. So we're loading the birds with the guys, and, like, I think they think I'm a medic. They're like, "Sir, get on the bird." I'm like, because I was patching guys up, put tourniquets on. So I'm like, okay, the other section's here to secure. I'm the bird now. But I'm like, wait, why am I in that bird? But we're already flying to the cache in Baghdad. So we land. They put the 2 other guys. There's 2 guys that have a shot on the Gators right on the helipad, driving straight in the operating room. I mean, it's world-class medicine, right? Rolling straight to the operating room. So I walk into this like atrium of a hospital, just bloody, sweaty, dirty. I have, like, I'm red on all my weapons, and, like, God bless this nice nurse, but she's like, "Sir, you can't have loaded weapons in here." I'm like, I'm crusty as fuck, so I just drop the mag and pull the charging hammer back in the round, hits the floor, and I sit down. I don't know why, but I'll never forget this. Like, there was like a little Debbie snack cake wall, like, right there, like, literally 20 minutes ago, gunfight, crazy town, IEDs, and now, like, someone's asking me if I want a Twinkie and coffee. I'm like, what a juxtaposition, right? And so, the same thing, right? That night, we go back. The next day is the same thing, except that now there's 4 helmets, 4 rifles, 4 sets of dog tags, same memorial ceremony, right? And so, God bless, Walker, Jarrett, Armijo, and Ellis. But we same thing. Sorry.
Well, no, I just want to go back to the decision to go down that road.
Yeah.
How much do you question it still?
All the time. Like, you never go the way you come out, right? Like, but the other route has IEDs all over it. I mean, a lot, right? I mean, that's, I think, what a lot of I do. The what ifs. What if I was a foot this way? What if I was a foot that way? What if we had left earlier? Frankly, the reason I do all this work is that year, right? And there's another, one of my best friend my roommate was killed that year too later, the last day in Iraq. So, like, I think about all that, and I think about, what the fuck am I doing with my life that's worthwhile, right? Like, what can I do? Because those guys were fucking amazing dudes, right? Like,
but I can tell you, I took the same route to Taji every time I went there. Never strayed from it. Same route. Fast, hard, lightning quick, and took the same route every time. And sometimes we got into contact, sometimes we didn't. And you know the randomness of combat, that you could do everything right and still have something go horribly wrong. And you can do things totally dicked up and somehow you come out completely clean. And I only bring this up and I only say it to you, you know, and I'm talking now more as a friend necessarily than an interviewer to interviewee, but I know you struggle with that, but you know as well as I do, and that some of this stuff just isn't in our control.
I tell that to my guys, right? Like, but at the end of the day, and I know the answer is like, when you're the leader, whatever happens or fails happens on you, no matter what.
Yes, that's correct.
And so, yeah, like I think I'm to the point where I forgive myself for it, you know, over 13 years later, but it's always going to eat at you, right?
No, and I understand. Me saying this isn't going to make any of it go away. You're not going to make me, hey, Mark, all of a sudden, thank you. I never thought of that. I know you've thought of this all, but I just think for the audience, but in general, just to reiterate it for the sake of the conversation, combat's unforgiving, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing about it that we can predict. The best laid plans always go awry, and
yeah, true, yeah.
You know, whatever you have trained for, all you can do is rely on your training to get you out of things that you didn't prepare for.
And the guys you're with, right? And so guys and girls, and so like that's, you know, we can jump around, but I mean that's, I think a lot of folks, veterans, myself included, when you leave this, your service, having those folks around you that got you no matter what. That you kind of, that's the hard part of transition, right?
Were you always in the second vehicle in convoys?
No, dude, frankly, to your earlier point, sometimes you can be jacked up and safe. I would do some dumb shit. Like in Afghanistan as a commander, I was trying to be a good partner. I would roll with all Afghans as the only American in their patrol. I did that twice.
I did that once, almost died.
Yeah, like
with all Iraqis, almost died. That was the closest I came to death.
But after that, they loved me. I could do no wrong.
Also forgot a map that day, but that's a whole different discussion.
So, I mean, everything from the lead truck, hey, can I drive? LT, shut the hell. But like, you got to share the danger. You got to be, I used to want to be the first one to, like, this is immaturity. I think I still admire my own, like that time, the exuberance and leadership. But I want to be the first one in the door, like, and at a platoon sergeant and say, dude, sir, like, no, if you get shot in the face, you're going to fuck everybody up, right? And so, that was naivety in being mature in combat. And frankly, years later, this guy, he works at the VA now, and we're eating dinner, and I said, you were like an amazing platoon sergeant. Like, and I had worked a lot of NCOs, but you were so good. Like, I don't know how to ask him, but how, why? He's like, yeah, you know, I was in Delta before I came to be platoon sergeant, right? I was like, no, I didn't know that. I was like, and that's weird to go from Delta to big Army. He's like, yeah. I was like, why would you never tell me that? And this is why he's a great leader too. If I would have told you I came out of the unit and you're a first lieutenant, anything I would have said, you would have bowed to because you would have been intimidated. I'm like, what kind of leader of a sergeant first class says that to a first lieutenant because they're worried about their lieutenant's mentorship in combat?
Right, yeah.
Makes sense. And I did blow up only a couple times, and both times I was right? And so, I don't know. That's another thing you miss with the military. That quality of leader, right? That invests in other people to the point where like they ask nothing in return. I don't know, but yeah, never say sometimes second vehicle, depending on how many vehicles for command and control. Man, I used to. I
asked because I always went first. I was always in the first vehicle. I wanted to be out in front. I wanted to be in front of everything. I trusted the crew that I was with, in particular, my gunner was very good about constantly turning around and giving me a sit rep because communications always failed. Yeah. But for me, it's just where I felt the most comfortable. I felt like I needed to be in the first vehicle.
I think for me, it depended on what was going on. Like I wasn't no expert land nav guy, right? And so if we were going someplace complex, hey, lead scout, take the point. In the cavalry, lead scouts are usually the superstars. But and I think as I got older, I got more comfortable. I would do conventionally riskier things. I mean, I don't know how long we got, but I mean, we're flash forward in Afghanistan now, but it was right after provincial elections in Afghanistan, and I had 3 outposts as a commander, and one of them was co-located with the district governor, and there was just like maybe like 70, 80 dudes protesting on the middle of Highway 1 outside because their guy didn't get seated because of corruption, and they're protesting. And there's like a couple guys with AKs reverse slung, down there pointing towards the ground. My first sergeant at the time was like, sir, he's this ball of fury Puerto Rican guy, amazing NCO, but like, sir, we gotta double up guard towers. I'm like, everyone's getting so amped, and we're like putting like extra cruisers in guard towers, and like I can just feel in my bones like this is getting amped hard. And for some reason in my head was that scene from Rules of Engagement with Tommy Lee Jones when they start mowing down protests. I'm like, we don't need that shit, man. And so, but it's just getting amped and amped, and the protesters are getting screwed, and they see guys coming in. It's just like we need something to kind of de-escalate. And so earlier I read something where Petraeus was walking through sector with like no kid on, and he had super security. My dumb ass is like, you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing. And so like I told squad to get I told the squad to get kitted out, and they're like let's go. Like, sir, can I put on your kit? You don't need a weapon. I'm like, I got you heroes. Let's go. So like walk out of the gate, I have a radio on. Like I walk out of the front gate of the cop, and it's maybe 60 yards. We're standing at Highway 1. I got no kid on, no iPro. I mean, a sergeant major would have a heart attack. But I walked out with no kid on, and the Afghans stopped and like they've never seen an American without helmets, weapons, iPro. And, my chirp was with me, and they're like, I could just tell, I was like, hey, what's going on, guys? And they're like, where's your Commandante? What's your stuff? And I was like, you guys going to try to kill me? And they're like, no. I was like, then why do you need my stuff? And then it kind of de-escalated a notch, and then to my detriment, used to dip this thing called Nassoir, which is this green dust chopped with wood ash and lye, which is poison. It cuts away your line. But I gave a guy some Nassoir. He started laughing. I'm like, let's go inside and talk about this, yeah? And this is pure coincidence. But we were getting mail delivery by some like contracted Russian logging helicopter just landed right behind me. So they thought reinforcements were coming in. It was just pure luck. So like we went inside, but flashing back to the Iraq thing, yeah, sometimes you're a dumbass and it works out, and sometimes you do things by the book and it doesn't, right? And that's just the chaos and the fog of war, I suppose.
Yeah, I just a quick similar story. Stupid things I did. We had to get some paperwork from where we were at BIAP on the SF compound over to the green zone, and it was time sensitive. I forget why, but it was me, another captain, I was a captain at the time, and a lieutenant, and the three of us hopped in a regular old sedan. They were on civilian clothes with concealable body armor, right?
Yeah.
Just regular clothes, watches, hats, sunglasses, everything, and drove there by ourselves.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh my gosh.
I never forget, as soon as we got stuck in traffic is when I really started to shit my pants. I'm like, I started looking around. I go, there's three white faces in the middle of Baghdad in this non-armored vehicle, and all we got is our long guns and pistols, and that's it. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, this is probably a story I'm not going to share with Mom when I get back, because this is one of the stupider things I've done. And when we got there, I was like, guys, how the fuck are we going to get home? Like, how are we going to get, like, I don't want to do that again. This is stupid. We probably all got out over our skis on this one. But anyway, so yeah, you do some dumb things in combat and it ends up working out for you. But you get back from that first deployment. Do you ever get a chance to decompress and kind of take stock in everything that went on? So
the very last thing of that first 06 deployment, my best friend, we went to West Point together. We lived together in Texas as roommates. We were supposed to go to South America together. He wanted to climb the Patagonia Mountains, and I was like, dude, I was supposed to sit on a beach in Rio. So we're kind of like arguing about what's over. But he was a combat engineer, and he said, I'll go out one more time with you new guys to show you how to do riot clearance. And that one last time he went out, the day before he flew home, he was killed by an IED. So I came home and frankly, he wanted to be roommates again after that year. Before he was killed, I was like, dude, let's live in the same complex. I need just a room by myself, man. Like, 'cause I just knew I had shit that
you were growing up.
Yeah. Like I need space, but you're still my best friend. So I think, I was kind of hurt by that. I still carry that guilt too, is that, so we didn't go to South America. I just went to the Bahamas by myself, frankly, and sat out on the beach and drank rum and like stare at the ocean. I mean, it was just like, dude, my commander was killed. 4 of my guys were killed. I'm picking up their body parts. My best friend was killed. So, but you get like a couple weeks off for your post-deployment leave, and it's like, well, training up to go back, right? And so I actually, I went to the captain's career course as lieutenant, and so did all that, and then went back to, I actually had a SF selection day, but a colonel sit me down. I was like, why do you want to be SF? And he's a great mentor. I'm like, sir, I'm going to be badass. I'm going to be awesome. He's like, he says something I'll never forget. He's like, well, don't regular soldiers deserve good leadership too? I'm like, don't say that, sir. He's like, we need you back in the unit. We're going back to Iraq. And so like, all right, sir. Plus, frankly, to be honest, I didn't know if I was going to make it through selection or not, right? Deployed again in 2008 now, back to Iraq. And supposed to be assistant S3, like a slides guy, like a plans guy. Terrible at it. Hated it. And
it doesn't seem like it suits you at all.
And they're like, "You're terrible at slides." The squadron commander comes in. He's like,
You have trouble texting.
"Yeah, I know. I have a hard time keeping up with correspondence, let alone intricate sync matrices." But he said, "Hey, we got this new mission. We need to build out a military advisor team. It's a major's job. You're like a brand new captain. Do you want to go live with the Iraqi army and like train them and operate?" I was like, "Yes, sir." So, of course, every troop gives up their 4 or 5 worst soldiers. So it's me and the Apple Dumpling Gang just rolling through Iraq. But like, love those dudes, and we got a good team going. But to that point, like a much more quiet year, almost enjoyable. My brother's first deployment, so I got to go see my twin brother up a few times.
Did you tell him what had happened in your first deployment when you met with him?
Not really. I mean,
why?
I didn't want to talk about it for a long time, man. I mean, people knew my buddy was killed. But it was, for a long time, it was when you talk about it, you just get emotional, right? I mean, and it's taken years of time, and frankly, I ran my mouth too much about helping out my friend Joe Quinn get headstrong in Atlanta. I said, if you get headstrong in Atlanta, I'll go, Joe. And we got it, which is free.
Joe Quinn, by the way, shameless plug, also part of the Hazard Ground podcast. So he's been a guest here as well.
And so now it's basically they go into cities, pay psychologists and therapists their market rate in the field of virtual veterans, right? And so no stigma, it's easy. So I was like, damn it, I'll go. And like even that still helps years later. I kind of white knuckled it for a decade. And frankly, in the first session, like, yeah, dude, you found your therapy through service to others and helping other veterans. I'm like, well, no shit, guy. But while you're in the army, you're deploying so much and back, like, and I deployed again as obviously for a year in Afghanistan, which was a whole nother set of awesome stories and hard stuff. Maybe an H-4 general, which I learned a lot. And then you get out, and not only are you going through transition and losing purpose and meeting and camaraderie, community, you just now for the first time are thinking about like all this stuff that you've been kind of just shoving to the side for years, right?
How much of that gets overwhelming?
I think it never got overwhelming. I think I turned it into motivation for what I do with my life, right? And so, you think about the guys, right? I didn't know what to do after that first year in 2006, and so my commander, the guy that replaced Wycliffe, was killed. We just looked at each other and we're like, "Yo, do you want to travel around America and visit the families of your guys that were killed?" I was like, "I think so." And so this is not an army program. It's just 2 dudes buying airplane tickets to visit my 4 families, the guys, unofficially. And I tell you what, I mean, good for them, good for me. But the way the 4 different families reacted so differently. I mean, from throwing me a party and telling me they love me to the awkward silence and tension that like it's my fault their son's dead, right? I mean, and everything in between. But
how nervous are you knocking? Who'd you go see first?
First was Ellis, Staff Sergeant James Ellis.
So what are you thinking and feeling walking up to his door?
Still numb.
Nervous?
And it's different because I never met their families, right? Like I became the platoon leader in combat. I literally was baptism by fire, right? And so nervous, scared, emotional, right? Like, but knew I needed to do it for them and for me because I had a map. Oh, hey, I was there when it happened. What do you want to know? Like, and Ellis died in my arms, like, I mean, and so, I mean, this is some hard stuff. And Ellis, man, his wife and his baby girl were there, and like,
that rip your damn heart up.
Yeah, I mean, like, because in the army they have the CNO, the guy that notifies
casualty assistants.
And then they have the assistance officer who's like there with you to walk through the process. But I'm just some random jabron who was downrange with your husband who was there when he died. And so like, they all wanted to meet. And I had a map with me, and from the first was Ellis, and she was glad I was there, but she's still dealing with stuff. She's got a girl to raise now. And then in Phoenix, Arizona, our mijo is a Mexican immigrant. And dude, his family threw a party for us. Like, you guys are amazing. Thank you. I mean, you're our family forever now, hugging me, kissing me, drinking, giving me beers. It's just like, they loved us, right? And then Walker in Creve Coeur, Illinois, I never forget, all I hear was a clock ticking in the back, right? Like, just awkward, 1 glass of water, I have a map of me where I was at. They're just very quiet, right? Didn't ask a lot of questions. Could tell they were kind of, very upset, obviously. It's just, it was his parents, which was tough. And then, another family just want to go to the Outback Steakhouse, have dinner, and drink a lot of drinks, right? Like, glad to meet you. So, it's all the above.
That's a myriad of different reactions. When you finished that whole thing, How much different do you feel than when you started?
I think it was good for me too. It wasn't closure by any means, but I got to meet their families, right? And I look them in the eye and say, I was there when it happened, and I'm sorry, and things like that. And so it also resonated with me how different soldiers are from all walks of life, right? I mean, they join for all different reasons. They come from all different backgrounds, from frankly privileged white backgrounds to poor unprivileged backgrounds, and they're all in the same unit. We're literally in the same truck, fighting the same fight. Like that's always moving. The Army has made me love people so much more, right? I mean, I've always loved people, but I had a kid, same unit, a kid from Compton and a crew with a kid from Redneck, Texas. I mean, and they love each other. I mean, and the Army does that: shared hardship, shared danger, common purpose, right? Teamwork. Yeah.
Did any of the parents question why you made the decision to go down one road versus the other?
No.
Did that surprise you at all?
Yeah. I mean, I could tell one was tense, but no one ever said it's your fault that my kid's dead.
No, I wasn't going down that way. I guess it was just, with that being a decision that still haunts you, I wondered if they had posed the question to you, what were you thinking, and were you able to justify or at least explain it to them? Yeah,
none of them ever really got tactical. And look, it was, it happened in October and I got back, probably 6 months. So time had passed, right? No one ever like why did she turn left instead of right, or why'd you do it in the middle of the day instead of night, right? I mean,
I guess that's just my tact and my nature. Yeah. And when something goes on, even when you hear stories about what goes on in everyday life, I'm like, well, why would we need to do this? That's just the way our brain works and being trained to do so. But I was just kind of curious if they had posed any of those tough questions to you that you had struggled to answer.
None of them. I mean, frankly, and then some of the families like, how are you doing? I'm like, whoa, it's not about me. I mean, I was like, what love these people have, right? To worry about my well-being.
Well, for the record, we've had plenty of guests who have done similar things with you, and that's always what the families say. How are you?
Yeah.
And
that was shocking to me, right?
And it is always shocking because the reason you're there isn't for you. Right. The reason you're there is for them. Yes, you may get some catharsis out of it, but I think what you start to realize is in that, and this is an important, families understand the sacrifice because they're part of it, right?
Yes, they are.
We put on the uniform, but the families bear the burden of the sacrifice that we make for our country. And they understand that. And I think it's important just to recognize, and we know this within the military, how important the military family is, what they give up for us to do what we're able to do. And you talked about, wanting to even though it's a tough moment, wanting to be in that tough moment. While the families don't necessarily sympathize or empathize with that tough moment, they understand the cause and the reasons behind what we do. And I think that is where that comes from, in a sense of, how are you doing? My daughter made the same choice you did. And, all I know is that even if they're not here, that you're still here and you deserve to be treated the way we would ask our own child, how are you doing?
That's amazing.
So, okay. You decide to get out of the military. Why?
So I was trying to get out for multiple years. They kept giving me jobs I couldn't say no to. I want to get out after my second deployment. We're going to give you command of Ian Weichel's troop. When the one I was platoon leader and the commander was killed, I was like, damn it, guys. By the way, this is TS at the time. We're going to Afghanistan. It'll be the first mechanized company commander in Afghanistan. I'm like, how do you say no to that, right? So after I turned down the bonus, I stayed in. I got a command. And then I was going to go get out after that. And they're like, every brigade owes one captain to go interview the aide-de-camp to the new incoming commanding general. I was like, yeah, cool, I'm not doing it. They're like, you're going to interview. I was like, fine. I'm going to tell them I don't want it. But don't waste the slot on me, man. And so
I'm going into this knowing I'm going to fail.
And so
what happens?
And so the morning of the interview, I lived in Colorado Springs, downtown on Tejon Street, above a restaurant. And so I woke up. I was out late the night before. No studying, no notes. I could only find a clean uniform top that was size small. I'm like, what? I don't wear small. Whatever. I don't care. Put it on. It's like a wetsuit top. Get in my car, drive to the division headquarters where I've never been in my life. And there's a long line of captains, fresh haircuts, legal pads full of notes. Some had flown in from other posts. I'm like, you a-holes, good luck.
You guys really don't even know what you're walking into.
So I walk in one eye open, and the guy was General Anderson. It was a VTC. He was still at the Pentagon, so he's on this big screen in this big conference room here at the other end of the table. And he looks at me and he sees this wetsuit top, and he's like, "Oh, you're pretty fit there, Cathcart. You work out?" And I'm like, actually, sir, I do like to. I enjoy the running and the CrossFit from time to time. And then he's like, he has all my OER, all my officer evaluation reports are from. He's like, oh, you went to West Point? I did too. You were on the marathon team. I was. Oh my gosh, shit, are we bonding? And then I
hate marathons. Sorry, I hate them. I hate them.
And then he gets into the questions, and he's like, Garrett, what's the biggest problem facing Fort Carson today? And I think he's expecting some like 4-part paragraphs answer, and I say, sir, it's parking.
Parking?
Yeah, and he's like, Garrett, you care to expound on that? I'm like, yeah, you built these brand new barracks and company operating facilities, and there's 2/3 of parking for the capacity. So privates or specialists show up at 3:00 in the morning, sleep in their car, show up on time, park in the grass, or show up late, and they get an Article 15. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why who engineers this stuff. He's like, well, actually, that's a really good point. I'm like, yeah, that's why I said it, sir. And then a bunch of more questions, and he's like, all right, one more. Do you want the job? I'm like, no, sir. Getting out. He's like, well, appreciate your candor and your time. I'm like, thank you, sir. And then I'm at a wedding, my buddy's wedding in Las Vegas. Like 2 days later, it's a town nightclub, just getting after it. And like I get a call from some DC number. I'm like, this is Cathcart. He's like, this is Major General Anderson. You might need to camp. You work on Monday. I'm like, sir, I'm in town nightclub. And he's like, cool. Be at work on Monday. You're my 8. I was like, okay, sir. Oh shit, what'd I just do? And I ended up doing it. Found out later his wife picked me because she liked my background. Anyway, I learned more in 1 year about leadership from that guy than I have in my entire military career combined.
So you went to DC?
No, he came to Carson.
Okay, he came to Carson.
So I stayed at Carson, was his aide de camp. But I learned more about leadership working for that guy for a year. I mean, it's a hell of a job. You're on the road nonstop. You're a speechwriter. You're a confidant. I mean, you're in everything, right? And so towards the end of that, and this is another leadership story, is he was leaving Carson to go be the RC East commander, take over half of Afghanistan.
Wow.
Big deal, right?
Yeah.
Meetings at the White House, the CIA, the DOD. We had a 1-4 deployed brigade, had a bad day. And frankly, we were there. We had flown there and saw him right before that, but lost 8 guys, a couple suicide vests. That's before that is where I met Flo Goldberg. Different story. But he said, Garrett, we're going to go to all their funerals. I'm like, sure, it's 8 funerals, and you have to go to the White House. You have to go to the agency. You get briefings, RC West, or RC East rather. He's like, yeah, are you in charge of the 4th Infantry Division, Cathcart, or am I? I'm like, you are, sir. He's like, I'm going to go. And then he pointed his shoulder. If they have this patch on, I'll be at their funeral. I was like, yes, sir. And so we spent the next week and a half, 2 weeks on the road, just going to every single family of his soldiers that were killed. Because usually any general goes. Whoever lives closest. Some guard or reserve general who lives closest goes. Because every flag guy has to be at every funeral. But he said, I will be at every single one of my soldiers' funerals. And so his deputies to the White House, to the agency, to DOD to get the briefings. I tell you what, you get on a knee and give a flag to 8 different spouses, and I'm standing there at attention, reading all the notes, right, and like calming down the NCOs who are there. Like, he's not here for you guys, and like, woof. That's when we got close. That's when he told me about priorities. He's like, I don't care who says what. This was what important. We're going, man. And that's one lesson of 1,000 he taught me. But
did that resonate with you because you did the same thing?
I guess I didn't even thought about that. No, it resonated with me because he blew off is a strong word. Turned down meetings with POTUS, a bunch of important people for his career, frankly, to go be with the families of his soldiers from across the country, right? And no fanfare, wasn't in the news, no one knew about it. I mean, I feel bad telling it now, but no one can spite you for what's important, right? If you stick with your priorities, my guys are my priorities. I'm a 2-star. This guy's a private. I'm literally going to fly to Beaverton, Oregon, to like go to a funeral, and just this for one day, right? I mean, there's a million stories in that, but yeah, we were already pretty close personally, right? We travel enough, you hang out, but like it was an emotional time. So yeah, so then I got out.
Well, let me just before I just want to stay with this for 1 second. When you went through all those funerals with him, what were you feeling? Was anything bubbling inside of you?
Yeah, all of it, right? I mean,
you didn't know these guys personally, the ones who were killed.
No. And so, but look, man, you see a sobbing wife or a crying kid. I mean, it takes it out of you, right?
I'm sure. I can't even imagine.
And you see that every other day for 2 weeks. I mean, when you're downrange, you go to the memorial. You don't go to the funeral at home, and you don't see all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I was quote unquote lucky. I got to go to my best friend's funeral because it happened so late in the deployment. I went on an Advon flight, went to it in Houston, Texas. But besides that, man, it's hard to do that stuff. And so is it bubble? Sure, it all bubbles up. Like you think of the other families, and you think of, man, we've been at war at that point. This was in 2013 or 2012. Like, dude, we're still in the wars. It's the decade mark. So it's like everything, right? And that, frankly, one of those trips. She's like, Garrett, I want you to go be next. You should go be a Army Congressional Liaison. You go to D.C. and go on the Hill and talk to the Army, to Congress, which is a great gig, right? And I said, sir, you're friends with other important people, and frankly, I kind of want to disappear off the grid and go be an intel guy because bad intel was what got us in one of these wars, I think. And so that took me down a different pipeline for a while. But yeah.
All right, so then you get out.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your life? What did you decide you were doing with your life? So What's the plan?
My plan was going to be Jason Bourne / James Bond.
Awesome. How's that working out for you?
I'm in your basement drinking coffee talking on an iPhone. You tell me, Zeno, huh? Jimmy Christmas. So
that reflects more on me than it does on you.
But that's a long pipeline. You get this. How much I can talk about? You go down this pipeline, a lot of tryouts, but like it's like a year-long clearance, right? So like literally they go through everything you've ever done in your life. And I'm dating a girl at the time, so I'm like, yeah, I'm applying for this. I'm going to be a diplomat. And she's like, all right, well, I'm going to California. You can hang out with me. So for about 8 months, I'm just like living the dream. I'm like reading books on the beach, cooking elaborate meals every night, right? Like growing a beard, reading books. I mean, it's amazing. Eventually, I was like, I probably need a job. This thing's taking forever. And so this is my first kind of like half transition into the civilian world. And I had the other thing cooking where I was going to, go be super intel guy. But I got a hold of some junior headhunting firm. And the first two hung up on me. You're already out. Can't help you. And then finally one of these, junior officer military transition firms said, all right, give me your resume. And so they're like, oh, wow, you've got some decent experiences. You're a Medtronic guy, a med device guy. I'm like, what the shit does that mean, man? Medical devices. I'm like, I know what it stands for. But like, what is it? Oh, you make tons of money. I'm like, I'm in. It's like, all right, your first interview, like no interview prep, like your first interview is in Memphis, Tennessee with a company called Medtronic. So spinal hardware. I'm like, I don't think about science or sales. Like, you'll be fine. And so I'm like, fine. So I go to Banana Republic, buy my nice little suit, right? And like, fly to Memphis. I'm by myself. I'm like, Memphis, man, they're famous for blues and barbecue. Let's go explore some of that. Explored a little too much till about 2 a.m. Before my big interview. So I wake up and go down the lobby, and there's like all the other people that they flew in to come to get this big fancy job, and they all have these black leather like folders, these portfolios. I'm like, dudes, what's with the folders? Oh, these are our resumes. I'm like, oh shit, we're supposed to bring those? Like, I'm at this point, I'm like 33, never had a job in a year of my life. Right, besides the one with the extra tight uniform top, which also didn't have a resume. They're like smirking, like I'm the old guy because I'm 33. They're like in their mid-20s. I'm like, don't worry about me, junior. So I just walk out in the hallway. I'm like, hey, excuse me, sir. If I send you an email, will you print out like 10 copies? And he's like, you didn't bring a resume to Medtronic. I'm like, I get it, dude. Hook it up. So, and the first day of interviews was 5 1-hour interviews across the whole company. Of course, I walk into the first one-on-one 1-hour interview, and it's the freaking guy stopped in the hallway. He's like, oh, hey, Garrett, do you have any resumes? I'm like, actually, Wayne, I do. And he's like, I give you 0 points for preparation. I'll give you 100 for innovation. I was like, and literally their tagline of their spine division was the most innovative spine company in the world. I was like, Wayne, you're the most innovative company in the world. What do you want from me, huh? And then you started talking about leadership questions. I'm like, I'm just telling war stories of like, switching Afghan farmers from poppy to saffron. And they're like, whoa. So I'm just telling, it's all leadership, cultural stuff. End up getting the gig, switching to a different company because they let me live in LA with my girlfriend at the time. And like, then I go from commanding in combat and working for an amazing leader to selling back screws in Beverly Hills, California. Right. So like, what a cultural transition of literally, I'm schmoozing my face off with these neurosurgeons and orthopedic surgeons at fancy dinners, so they like me. Frankly, they're telling war stories, so they like me. Then I'm standing in operating rooms, and they're asking me what I think about like what side screw goes on a patient's back. I'm like, what? I don't know, dude. I mean, I'm petrified of this scenario, and then I start like that's when the really such a stark transition from like purpose and community and brotherhood to sales and like how much numbers did you hit, and I'm telling stories to get people to buy my shit. I'm like, I hate this stuff, man. I hate it so much. I had a great boss who basically picked me because of my military experience, but like I realized very quickly, like, I can't do this. I mean, if you stay long enough, it gets very, very, very lucrative. I did not make it to that point. I was still getting like junior captain pay, but I love the guy. I went in to him and I said, I never quit a job before besides the Army. It's just, and I was paperwork. So he gave me this huge break because usually it takes a few years to get to that level. Pharmaceutical sales, knee and ankle, whatever. So it was like 2:00 on a Tuesday. I walk in his office and start making him old fashioned because I brought some bourbon and orange. I'm like, sir, we got to talk. It's not you, it's me. Purpose, camaraderie. I need to do what I believe in. Like, I didn't know all this. I'm sorry. And I got like emotional talking about it. Right. He's like, Garrett, I was going to offer you like a bonus to stay here, but after that speech, I can't. Like, you got to go do what you believe in, man. To say he's still a great mentor and boss of mine, or mentor of mine rather. And around that same time, the famous Joe Quinn called me and he's like, hey, at that point I've met him twice in my life. The first was in Afghanistan when I had quasi-legally recruited tribes to fight with me, just dudes with motorcycles and AKs. And he got flown out by Petraeus. Like, who's this big army commander with tribes and why is it working? We met, but years later he called me and was like, you ever think about nonprofit? I'm like, no, I'm an idiot. I don't want to be poor. It's like, dude, go volunteer for this thing called RWB out in LA. And I did it. I was like, dude, this is what I miss, man. It's like good people, helping others. Like I never knew the language of camaraderie and purpose and meaning until I experienced it and we started talking about it. So then that led me to applying and working and getting a gig at RWB. And that's what, frankly, I moved to Atlanta for.
Yeah, and that's, for those listening where you and I ended up meeting. And I forget how we crossed paths. I don't know. I mean,
someone introduced us. Was it Irwin? I don't know.
I mean, it was I think I was on the radio, and obviously everybody knows I'm still in the military. I was still serving, and then we ended up crossing paths going out to lunch. And we hit it off immediately, obviously, with the synergy as far as wanting to help out vets and everything else. But so you stay with RWB for a little bit of time, and then you decide to move on from there.
Well, I decided as well as the hand reached out and grabbed me. I love RWB. Did a lot of great stuff with it, right? Building purpose, community with folks. But you get to a point when you always want to look for growth opportunities, right? And it's a very small organization, and there's really no upward mobility as far as a different role. So I was happy. I got my MBA here in Atlanta, but I just I was thinking there's a lot more folks I could help out of the Southeast. I always think about larger scale stuff. And I've been involved in other things, right, that aren't my day job, whether it's this thing called Vetlanta or the Warrior Alliance, or just, frankly, I started speaking, and that turned into another invitation, So I, just speaking and telling, the Atlanta Hawks asked me to give a talk to the organization on Veterans Day, the VA. I'm like, different organizations. So I started thinking about other things. And I had mentioned once in passing, I think, to some folks, I learned that half of all veterans aren't connected to any veteran organization, including the VA. I was like, dude, that's like half the people aren't in the room. So how do we form opinions about what people need?
How do you have a conversation about what veterans want if half the room...
And look, I'm not a smart tech guy or social media guy, but like I just remember I kept getting ads for like earplug lawsuits or buy this because you're a veteran. I'm like, dude, if big corporate America knows I'm a veteran, like why can't we do something for a nonprofit to serve veterans? The answer is, frankly, it's money, right? Because who's going to pay to do all the analytics and reach out and all that kind of stuff? With the only ROI, frankly, the ROI is you find veterans, you ask them what they need, and you help them, right? And so I was at a dinner, I said that to some folks, different folks in the veteran space. Didn't think anything of it. A few months later, I get invited to a dinner. I'm like, Garrett, come to dinner. I'm like, all right. And they're like, that thing you talked about? Yeah, we're going to do it. We want you to lead it. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not a tech guy. I'm not this. And I kept getting all these excuses. They're like, yeah, we don't care. You'll learn that. You're going to be in charge of it. We want you to do this. And I was like, it's a program of America Warrior Partnership, And so I thought about it. I was like, this is, it's a startup. I'm kind of terrified I'm going to jack it up. But something's big when you're scared of it, and if it works, the impact is momentous, right? And I love new challenges, and I've just been moved at asking for help from folks, and frankly, not asking for help when people offer help. that it comes, everyone wants to help veterans. And frankly, I've been touched by people reach out to me personally. Hey, Garrett, whatever you're doing, let me know if you can help or I can help. So it's called Mission Roll Call, right? We talked at the beginning, but the idea is if we get enough people involved, right, whether it's an email or a poll that we send out to you, the more it's the influence and the power comes in the numbers, right? So we get 500,000, we get 1 million veterans say, I think this, right? I think we should go see a head doc in our community. I think pick the topic, right? And so that's where it's fascinating. It's not my opinion. I'm nonpartisan, non-political, nonprofit. Just like I'm trying to give a platform in a way where you don't have to go to your congressman's office. You don't have to write a congressman. You don't have to join another organization. And those organizations are great, right? But most veterans, I think, and this is a pure hypothesis, are out there living their lives, man, right? And they're raising families and doing good things. So the more veterans that engage, I think the more influence we have. And I also, in my dreams, want to use it to help shape and define the narrative of the American veteran, right? Because I think in some ways, when you raise your hand and say you're a veteran, a lot of folks have a negative connotation to that, right? Thank you for your service, but are you jacked up? You have post-traumatic stress? Oh my gosh, you're aggressive. Like, that's not true. We know that, right?
And on the other end of it, there's a guilt factor, right? Which it's not every veteran is looking for a handout. Not every veteran.
Not at all.
Not every veteran is looking for something to be given to them because they served. I think that's also a big misconception.
It absolutely is, right? So are there, and there's a great organizations that are doing this, but like, hey, I don't know how to translate what a battalion commander is in civilian world. And on both sides, I'm a former company commander. I was in charge of 150 people and bajillions of dollars worth of stuff. Does that mean I can walk into a senior director role off the street? No. So I got to manage my own expectations as a military leader, but also, man, I got some pretty legit experience, right? I mean, as far as leadership goes, team building, whatever. So, for me, it's changing, but also defining the narrative of veterans. A lot of folks don't raise their hand because they're not looking for a handout. I don't need to raise my hand because I don't want the discount or the free ticket or the whatever. And so I'm placing a big bet in my professional reputation on the line, but I think it's true is that veterans aren't going to say, why do I do this? It's not because of my widget you give me or the free keychain or ticket. It's because I want to help other folks, right? And so, I'm a big dreamer. Oh, 2 million veterans? I mean, there's 10 million veterans that connect anything. 2 million are connected. Oh, by the way, hey, policy think tank, 37,000 veterans think this. I mean, there's the possibility is near limitless, right? And so, right now, I'm trying to get the word out, right? That's through social media, through obviously talking to you, but it's exciting, it's terrifying, and I think I'm hopeful it's going to make a big change.
Let me ask you about. You say 50% of the veterans aren't even in the room. There are, I think, 43,000 different veteran nonprofits. Everything from moms running a 5K or a scholarship fund,
Girl Scout cookies for the troops, whatever they are.
I mean, whatever it is. With all those out there, there's a cannibalization effect to all this that I think hurts us. And I've said for years, and I've said it on this podcast several times, if there's a way I could get all those nonprofits, and even, like I said, the small ones like that to bigger ones, Wounded Warrior Project, whatever it is, IAVA, if you could get all those people under the same umbrella run by one organization, that's economy of force, right? Unity of effort.
Right, or at least connect them, right? And so, and look, a study came out by Center for New American Security, I think, very recently. Only 83 are $1 million or more. So out of the 43,000, only 83 have $1 million budget or more, right? And so that means a lot of those are very small local operations. You live in a small town. This is for service dogs or home. I mean, and they're all doing great work. And so I think one of the biggest issues, if you're a veteran, what's out there for you? You can't just Google what's for veterans in my hometown, right? And so that's the other kind of, if we're thinking big about it, of this endeavor, is cataloging and connecting. The ADUP has this thing called the network, right, where they've got national level resources and they're mapping all these. And so theoretically, say I live in Waterloo, Iowa, and I've got a plumbing issue. I can't fix it. Who can help me? And that's all right there. Whether it's the Salvation Army, the United Way, a local VFW post that does it, because it's a lack of knowledge. I think that is one of the biggest issues, right? So we all shoot up flares to whoever we know, and I've got, frankly, I'm a veterans guy now. I'm a professional veteran, like it or not now, right? I mean, and so when someone has an issue with veterans, they call me, and it could be anywhere in the country. And it's not a system to have to know a guy that knows a guy, right? I mean, if you got to know a guy that knows a guy, that's not institutional. How do we make it so you can go to one website, call a number, and there's a couple organizations working on that. And my dream, my hope is that we can connect and streamline it, right? So you are in a time of need, or frankly, reverse that. I want to give my time, my resources to an organization. Like it's streamlined, right? It's been vetted. So, yeah, there are a lot, but most of them are local-ish, community-based. And if you live in that community, how do you as a veteran know about them, right?
I mean, it's incredibly, incredibly tough. And I think, what you're doing out at Mission Roll Call obviously has a grander purpose. And this is a big picture thing. It's a long haul. It's not going to happen in a short amount of time. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think a lot of the right people are going to have to get involved. And certainly, I say this as a friend, but also as somebody who's seen you work in the veteran community. You're absolutely the right guy for this job, and absolutely the guy who belongs at the top of this thing because, people are drawn to you, man. I don't know what it is. Listen, I think you're a little bit below board person. But, people, for whatever it is, people are drawn to you, and your energy is infectious. And, every time you get in a room, it's just we kind of feel everything that you've went through, both in combat and post-combat, kind of comes out, and that cause is right in front of you. And so from that standpoint, obviously, I thank you for everything you're doing for everybody out there. But, in the time that I've gotten to know each other, we've had drinks together, we've had laughs together. We probably had too many drinks together on a couple of occasions. Certainly broke bread together. And it's just, if there's anybody who deserves a title professional veteran, it's kind of you, because I think that really.
I say that tongue in cheek, but
I know you do. And again, I don't mean to the audience listening who, again, Garrett and I are looking at each other in the eye and just kind of smiling and winking because we have that relationship. But, it really is a title that I think you've earned from the standpoint of you're so tuned in to what needs to happen next and how to get out in front of these things. And you do know the right people, and that's part of it. It is part of what makes the veteran community successful, is connecting the people who are the right people who can make things happen. I'll toot Garrett's horn here for the audience listening. I mean, I'm not just talking about the right people. I'm talking about people with the financial backing, people with the political pull, people in the right positions that actually can move mountains and make things happen. I think that's a big part of it. But that said, I mean this as a brother. I love you pieces, bro. I mean, honestly, since I've known you for the last couple of years, it's been a great relationship. I posted once on Instagram that, even though we've never served in combat together, I feel like, we have.
Remember, that means the world to me. I mean, that to me that's a level of bond. We say, I go to war with that guy. Like, what better vouch, what better, term of endearment or camaraderie is than that, right? Because you're only going to go to war with folks that you know, you love, you trust, and things like that. So I appreciate that.
No, absolutely, and I do mean. I mean, they're a select bunch of people, and particularly in a very veteran rich community like Atlanta, where we are. But this goes countrywide. Find that veteran rich community wherever you are, and dive into it and wade into it and just swim in it for a little bit, and you'll start to realize there are a lot of things out there for you. And Mission Roll Call is one way to help you get it. But I just think that the cause in which you've dedicated the rest of your life to, and I know you carry those you lost with you, but they're damn well proud of you because you're doing their names well.
Means a lot to me. It's kind of frankly why I do this, right? But to make their sacrifice worth it. But I was getting ready to say we all need suitcase friends. You know what a suitcase friend is? An old buddy of mine told me, "Hey, Garrett, you're a suitcase friend." I was like, "What does that mean, dude?" He's like, "Anyone in the world you are, bud. Within 24 hours, you need me, I'll be there with a suitcase full of guns and money to make it happen. Whatever we need, man." So I said to your suitcase friend, Mark, and if you're anywhere in the world, I don't have much money. I have my 1 or 2 guns, but I'll put it in my little duffel bag and fly to where you are to make it happen.
Bring beer.
Yeah.
Garrett Cathcart, thanks for being part of the Hazard Ground.
Thanks so much.
You've been listening to the Hazard Ground Podcast, hosted by Mark Zeno and produced by Matt Pasquarella. If you have an interesting story to tell and you'd like to be on the show, send us an email at hazardgroundpodcast@gmail.com. And if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.